Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Gwen Jacobsen, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 12, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NATV CTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at NACTV at wcgwave.ca. Today's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press is dated Friday, February 5th, 2021. And the front page headline is Putting on the Finishing Touches. On Monday, February 1st, Neepawa Curling Club and Town of Neepawa workers were finishing the surface of the Coca-Cola rink in the flats. Painting, pebbling, and flooding were done, leaving only the posts to be installed around the red center ring and possibly more flooding. Pictured here are Garnet Vanel, who was sweeping the snow off the ice, as Tom Lissaway pebbled the surface, sealing in the fresh coat of blue paint. It was estimated the rink would be ready to play on by this weekend. There's a couple of more pictures, it says, on this page. As you can see here, this was the process it went through, and then almost the final touches here. The Coca-Cola rink as it appeared at different times, Monday, February 1st. This new community activity is thanks to the efforts of Tom Lissaway and Bernie Ross of the Neepawa Curling Club, Tridacon, the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation, and Town of Neepawa workers Kevin Lewandowski, Garnet Vanel, and Jack Follows. That will be a wonderful addition to our community, something else to do. Back on the Market by Owen Devereaux. The 46 residential lots located on the former CN property in Neepawa are now back on the open market. On Tuesday, February 2nd, Town Council passed a resolution involving Stonecliff Builders, Inc. of its purchase agreement for the lots. This decision is subsequent to various unforeseen circumstances occurring throughout a difficult pandemic year and affecting the financial viability and success of the project. All parties have agreed to take a different approach to developing the lots for housing, which will now allow for the lots to be sold on an individual basis at $45,000 per lot on a first-come, first-served basis. The sale to the Steinbach-based housing developer, which had been agreed upon back in 2019, had been for $1.725 million, with the understanding that they would be fully serviced. Neepawa Mayor Blake McCutcheon said that the plan at the time of the purchase agreement was for development on a portion of the 46 lots to begin in 2020, but then COVID-19 altered those plans. When we made this agreement in 2019, everyone was pretty positive that it was going to work extremely well. But with the arrival of this once-in-a-100-year pandemic, it created some exceptional circumstances and significant delays that no one could have foreseen, said McCutcheon. It was no one's fault. It's just how the circumstances rolled out. At the end of the day, it's just best for both parties to move forward. We are pleased that he is still committed to the development in Neepawa, and as we sift through the changes brought forth by the pandemic, we need to adapt and figure out ways to ensure everyone is successful. As for the sale of the 46 residential lots, information has been distributed via the town website and its social media platforms. McCutcheon noted that he and other town officials are looking forward to seeing just how the individual sale of the lots will play out over the next few weeks. The CN property has always been a part of the town's long-term planning to have lots available for housing. So here we are. It's hard to believe. It's 2021 and housing is on our horizon. There's water, Their sewer and hydro and gas will be in place as this year occurs, and people can go ahead and start building, said McCutcheon. We've been looking for housing in this town for so long. We now have these lots for sale. I'm very hopeful talking to the general contractors in this town. I think this is going to be a very positive progression, so we're moving forward and doing so in an individual lot sale. So everybody will have a chance to buy a lot. The town of Neepawa was able to initially purchase the property from CN Rail back in 2013 for $450,000. And there's a picture in the paper indicating how the land will look with its individual lots. Now for a COVID-19 update. State of emergency extended. The Manitoba government has once again extended its state of emergency due to COVID-19. The emergency extension was announced on Tuesday, February 2nd, and is the 12th consecutive month the order has been extended since the pandemic began. The Manitoba government first issued a state of emergency on March the 20th, 2020. COVID-19 fines from January 25th to the 31st. The province has handed out nearly $60,000 in fines over the last week to people and businesses defying COVID-19 public health orders. A total of 159 warnings and 56 tickets were issued. Of that, 205 warnings and 46 tickets last week. This week's numbers include 42 $1,296,000 tickets to people for various offenses and 14 $298 tickets to individuals for failure to wear a mask in indoor public places. For active COVID-19 case counts, over the course of a recent 7-day period from Wednesday, January 27th to February 2nd, there were 70 new COVID-19 cases reported within the Prairie Mountain Health Region. That is a slight drop from the 91 cases reported last week. The total current cases in Prairie Mountain since March are 1,987, of which 1,777 have recovered and 157 are currently active. There have been 51 deaths in the region. Porcupine Mountain, located north of Swan River, currently has the most active cases in the Prairie Mountain Health Region with 50. The active case count in Brandon this week has dropped from 58 to 31. White Mud area, which encompasses Neepawa and surrounding communities, has no active cases at this time. Yay! Provincially, the Northern Region currently has the most active cases with 1,907, while Winnipeg's current cases are at 727. Now we have a picture of the recording studio of NACTV that I am in right now. This is what it looks like now. Well, this was during the renos. NACTV's recording studio was unusually empty on Monday. All of the furniture and some recording equipment was moved out temporarily to accommodate for renovations. Above, items such as the bingo table were moved to install new carpeting, and this area here, in which the backdrop and seating for those being recorded were originally placed before the new carpet was installed. And it's very nice compared to what it looked like before. Speaking of bingo, it is bigger than ever. Neepawa Access Television, NACTV, their main fundraiser has been thriving lately. The NACTV Bigger Bingo, which is broadcast weekly from this studio, has been selling more tickets than it ever has, despite the pandemic throwing some obstacles in the way. When the pandemic started causing restrictions at retailers, some of the stores that had previously been selling bingo cards decided to stop so as not to bring in customers who did not actually need anything from the store. Others continued to sell them until restrictions came down that prohibited selling any non-essential items in the store. That's when NACTV and its volunteers had to get creative. Volunteer Val Wilson, shown in this picture, has been hard at work making sure cards are accessible to all who want them. Once the restrictions meant bingo cards could not be sold in person anymore, Wilson took on the task of distributing them herself. She explained that NACTV created a database of a good portion of the regular bingo players from a contest they held years ago. So when cards became only available through her this past fall, she used that database to reach out to players to get cards sold and delivered. That was her starting point, but then sales started to grow. I think it just went by word of mouth, she said. One thing led to another, and people heard about it. She added that they also had announced the information during their bingo broadcast when the change happened, and that helped spread the word as well. The convenience of having cards delivered was one thing that could have contributed to the growing sales. Wilson noted that because the jackpot started growing, more people started buying, which in turn grows the jackpot even more. And we do have COVID. We have winter. We have no other activities, she added, suggesting that bingo has become more popular because people are looking for entertainment. And it goes on to say, last summer, they were regularly selling around 90 cards a week. Wilson noted that starting in September, it started to grow, breaking 100 on September 9th. Then it slowly increased into December and the new year, getting as high as 241 in a week. Anything over 200 is a bonus, Wilson said. This past week, they sold 231 and had a jackpot over $8,000. Wilson noted that the card delivery is completely contactless and COVID safe. The buyer and I have a little place that we have to agree to that I'm going to leave the cards, they're going to leave the money, they never see me, and I never see them. And even at my home, I have people coming from Minnedosa, some from Brandon, Glenella, picking up cards, and I put them out and they pick them up, she explained. NACTV will be continuing this system for the time being, despite retailers again being allowed to sell non-essential items. Wilson noted that they didn't want to ask stores to offer the cards since they have such tight capacity limits right now. As well, nobody knows how restrictions will be changing in the future. So Wilson said NACTV did not want to have to be switching back and forth from stores to deliveries whenever the rules change. The deliveries aren't the only part of the bingo process, Wilson noted. She also gave credit to Karina Jesnik, who organizes and packages the bingo cards, as well as Joyce Kingdon, who does the books for the bingo sales. As the numbers go up, each job becomes a little bit greater. To order a bingo card, people can contact Wilson directly at 204-841-0448 or the NACT office at 204-476-2639. To watch or play, people can tune in live on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on MTS Channel 30, Bell Express View Channel 592, or Cable Channel 12. For anyone who does not have any of those TV providers, Bigger Bingo can be watched live on Facebook, as Wilson live to NACTV Bigger Bingo Facebook group. Thank you, Val, for doing that. Now, Homebodies by Rita Friesen, called A True Story. When my parents chose to relocate from the Kane area to the backwoods of Graysville, they did not consult me. We were moved from a nest of fun-loving cousins and doting aunts and uncles to the hinterland. This was way back in the early 1950s, a very long time ago. Telephone calls were a privilege, and a trip back home to see extended family was rare. We moved in early spring. The Easter break, to the best of my memory, I admit I may be in error. Going to school in Kane, we caught the bus, driven by my father, joined a class of which were half relatives and near neighbors. We wore something akin to a uniform, a navy jumper, but no slacks. That first month at the new school was terrible for me, a rather shy, awkward 8-year-old. I didn't know the other kids, really didn't know the neighbors yet, and the one bright spot was Mrs. Gray, a seasoned teacher. She understood children. In the beauty of the early summer, it was easy for me to hide in the trees beside the lane until the school had picked up my sister and left. My father was not pleased when I wandered back, and he had to stop his work to drive me to school. Then one day in June, Mrs. Gray, frustrated with the number of students who forgot their readers at home, stated that the next one who forgot their book would just have to go home and get it. Truly, she may have said that. I doubt it, but I felt it to my core. And didn't I forget my reader? Asking to leave the room, raising my hand, I simply walked out of the classroom, out of the school, and headed the 3.5 miles home. Only later did I know that the teacher and principal had older students check the village, even sending some down to the nearby river. My arrival home was not heralded as a brave, courageous, and obedient act. My father picked me up, set me firmly in the farm pickup, drove me back to the school, carried me up the steps like a bag of potatoes, howling like a banshee, and deposited me in front of Mrs. Gray. Just to note, my wails had called every classroom door to pop open, with inquiring eyes watching this prodigal's return. With a terse, "This won't happen again," my father left. Needless to say, it did not happen again. Was I running away from school? Perhaps. In my mind, I was being obedient. See how different perspectives can be? Thankfully, I did settle down and settle in, and school became my safe place. So why this story today? I tell you the truth. As most of you, I am restless and ready to break out of my home, have coffee with friends, eat out, travel. Part of me feels like that 8-year-old me did. No one asked my opinion on this move. Knowing what is best for all of us, I will not run away. I will stay home. Now, I don't usually read the letters, but I feel that this particular one is worth listening to. It's called A Bright Light During a Dark Time. We are almost coming to a year of dealing with COVID-19 and its many restrictions and rules. I believe most people are starting to feel the effects of social isolation on their mental health. We are social beings and miss our friends and families, concerts, and sporting events. However, in our community, we have 2 little rays of sunshine who are doing their very best to not only brighten the spirits of their community, but also support local businesses who have had a very difficult year. Kelly Drayson is really an angel on earth. She is busy coming up with fun guessing games on Facebook and randomly gifting her community with surprise bags and gift cards from all over the community. She does not work alone. Her husband Ray is often her delivery driver for spreading joy and making sure his wife's kindness is spread to all those who have been spoiled. During these difficult times, it's very refreshing to see someone spread such kindness and generosity without expecting anything in return. I myself have been lucky enough to be on the receiving end of their generosity and know they would never expect anything in return, but I wanted them to know how appreciated they are. You both bring such positivity to our community and support local businesses whenever possible. Everyone can use kindness right now, and you both have been such a bright light to this community. Thank you for getting so many of us through the tough times. A random act of kindness often brings the best and brightest smiles. Helen Drysdale's Kitchen. This one's entitled Tuberculosis in Manitoba. Although relatively unknown or forgotten by society today, tuberculosis, or as we call TB, was a dreaded disease in Canada and the most common cause of death in the early 1900s. It was called consumption back then. It has been under control in Manitoba since the 1960s. TB can still be found in remote northern communities of First Nations people due to overcrowded living conditions, as well homeless people and new immigrants coming from countries that have TB. Tuberculosis is contagious, usually attacking the lungs, but it can attack other organs of your body such as the liver, brain, and joints. Mild cases cause loss of appetite and weight, night sweats, fever, fatigue, and a persistent cough. Severe cases cause bleeding of the lungs, resulting in coughing up blood and can lead to death. The bacteria that causes tuberculosis is spread through the air by tiny droplets released when a person sneezes, coughs, or speaks. In 1904, Manitoba established the Board of Trustees of the Manitoba Sanatorium of Consumptives. It began fundraising, and by 1910, the sanatorium on Pelican Lake near Ninette was open for business. In those days, it was believed that cold air killed the TB bacteria, so the patients were taken out onto the balcony to sleep under feather comforters, hot water bottles on their feet, and toques on their heads. There they slept in the cold air. Nourishing food was served along with rest, and more rest. Until one was on the mend, there was no baths, no sitting up, no deep breaths, and no movement except to the toilet once a day. When one was on the mend, they had entertainment, picnics, plays, orchestras, parties, and the occasional romance. There were several marriages that came from these romances. For Diniver Indian Hospital, Clear Lake Indian Hospital, and the Brandon Sanatorium that were for the First Nations peoples, the memories of their stay were not quite the same. These segregated hospitals were inadequately funded and poorly staffed. The people there they served spoke a different language, given little information about their treatment, and at times treated very poorly. The wet, cold, and overcrowded trenches of World War I saw many of the men returning home with TB. To be able to treat this influx of men, the Canadian government gave extra funding to the sanatoriums. Ninette received more buildings and electricity. The Red Cross donated an X-ray machine to help with a correct and quick diagnosis. In 1926, the Christmas Seals campaign was set up to raise money for mobile clinics. They were up and running by 1927, traveling around Manitoba to help diagnose TB in communities. The Depression of the 1930s saw the sanatorium staff's wages cut and other money-saving techniques to keep the sanatoriums open. Surgical procedures were being developed to help in the treatment of TB. The biggest advancement came in 1944 with the discovery of streptomycin that killed the TB bacteria, the first effective drug against tuberculosis. As a child in Saskatchewan in the 1960s, I remember all my family going to town for a TB test. We all lined up to receive the Mantoux skin test, which is the injection of tuberculin just under the skin of the lower part of your arm. Several days later, we lined up again for the nurse to look at our arms for a reaction. Our family was one of the fortunate ones. After the war, Manitoba's mobile X-ray clinics used a miniature X-ray that could X-ray more than 1,000 people per day with far better results. The continued advancements in new treatments and medications reduced the long periods of time that needed to be spent in sanatoriums. By the late 60s and early 70s, the sanatoriums were all closed. Nutritious food was part of the cure for the patients in the sanatoriums. Ninette had gardens where they grew fresh produce for the kitchen staff to turn into meals. And today's recipes include a salad and a healthier slice to have for afternoon tea time. And there are two recipes. One is a Swiss apple salad, and the second is an apricot seed slice. Now, some news from Gladstone. Gladstone Legion receives over $11,000 in COVID-19 support. The Gladstone branch of the Royal Canadian Legion received some much-needed support on January 29th. The branch received $11,403 in support funds from the federal government to help cope with challenges the COVID-19 pandemic presents. This announcement was made by Member of Parliament Dan Mazier in collaboration with past President and Treasurer Kerry McLennan, President Daryl Shipman, and Vice President Nick Beavington of the Gladstone Legion. Mazier reports that he has been asking the government to meet requests for similar support from Legions and other veteran organizations across the country throughout COVID-19. The MP's media release states that the organizations have experienced a devastating loss of income over the course of the pandemic, with many Legions already having closed their doors permanently, as well that others risk following the same course of action. Legions have always played an integral role in Canada, especially in our rural communities like Gladstone. I cannot thank the staff and volunteers enough who work with our Legions to continuously support and give back to their communities, said Mazier. Today's announcement will assist in the future success of the Gladstone Legion, something we are all looking forward to. Shipman expressed his own delight at the briefing, stating, "Our local branch has always been proud of the work we do in supporting both our veterans and our community. This financial support will allow us to continue to give back despite the financial challenges experienced from the pandemic. In addition to covering various operating expenses, the funds received will assist the Gladstone Legion with upgrading its facilities." Mazier noted that he and his fellow Conservative colleagues had originally requested $30 million to support Canada's Legion branches. However, the federal government has only agreed to provide $14 million. Mazier said the larger figure would be a small price to pay to save an important Canadian institution, particularly when the sacrifices of those who have served the country are being considered. "We cannot allow our Legions, an institution that has been serving veterans and their families for almost 100 years, to fade away because government funding came too late or not at all," Mazier stated. The MP asserts that he will continue to fight for other Legions within his constituency who were not granted funding despite their financial burdens. Farm and Leisure Lotto exceeds expectations, by Owen Devereaux. It was a record-setting year for the Neepawa District Medical Committee and its annual Farm and Leisure Lottery. The committee has announced a net profit of $160,500 from its 2020 fundraiser, whose proceeds help fund ongoing improvements to the Beautiful Plains Medical Clinic and Neepawa's medical services in general. Lottery coordinator Mary Ellen Clark said this degree of support was a surprise, considering the lotto was initially postponed due to the uncertainty surrounding COVID-19. "We were concerned when we decided to still go with the lottery. We felt as though we couldn't proceed in the spring because we didn't know what would occur surrounding the pandemic. We were worried when it changed to the fall, and we thought if we break even, we'd be happy. But then we went ahead with it. But it just absolutely worked," noted Clark. Clark added that there was a lot more work than needed to be done with the Lotteries Commission due to restrictions associated with COVID-19. Tickets could not be distributed to other outlets and retailers, which meant there had to be more of a focus on online and phone sales. Clark said that ultimately, with that, those changes worked. "And I think it worked because people had money to spend. People had not gone on holidays. As well, people were thinking about health and doctors in the clinic due to COVID. I do think that was a factor in putting lotto sales over the top." The tireless efforts of the Neepawa District Medical Clinic Committee on the lottery and other endeavors over the years has been an integral part of the success of the Beautiful Plains Medical Clinic. The committee is operated through NADCO, which consists of a partnership between the town of Neepawa and rural municipalities of Rosedale, Glenella Lansdowne, and North Cypress Langford. The clinic itself is run by the Beautiful Plains Medical Clinic Committee, which consists of councillors and community members. NADCO Chair Murray Parrott commended the committee members for the long-term commitment that they have shown. He said the fact that we've maintained through this committee a strong relationship with the doctors, the province, and with the town of Neepawa, this committee deserves a huge thank you. Many of the original board members remain, and it's like a family. Both Clark and Parrott also acknowledged Murray Van Buskirk, who was able to sell over $20,000 worth of lottery tickets this past year. They said his efforts single-handedly covered the early bird cash draw prize and deserves to be recognized. The grand prize of $100,000 for the 2020 Farm and Leisure Lottery was won by Neepawa's own Ashton Porak and her father, Dennis Tiller. Meanwhile, the 50-50 prize amount of $57,555 was won by Joyce Mott of Brandon. The Neepawa District Medical Committee Farm and Leisure Lottery has been in operation for 14 years and has raised just over $1.4 million. High Life invests in employee wellness. High Life announced a major change at the Neepawa pork plant on February 1st. Via media release, it was confirmed that the first phase of Project West reached its end. The $17 million project was a renovation of a 41,000 square foot employee wellness space within the High Life facilities here. The remodeling included a new cafeteria, which the company expects will bring comfort to the employees. Our employees have been exceptional throughout the past year, following our COVID protocols, using temporary tents and trailers to physically distance while on break, said Grant Lazarek, High Life's president and chief executive officer. He said the new space allows them to be comfortable and safe. Talks of the project first began in 2016, with construction originally being scheduled for early 2020. However, it was delayed due to the onset of COVID-19. High Life noted that this delayed start was a boon because it allowed the company to tweak the plan to include illness prevention elements. Kevin Barkman, Vice President of Infrastructure and Environmental Affairs, said that the complete redesign allowed for increased space allocation to accommodate physical distancing in change rooms, bathrooms, the cafeteria, sanitation spaces, and individual workplaces. We also added physical acrylic barriers along with custom lunchroom seating, additional entry points, and staging areas for health checks and extensive video and IT systems to better communicate with our employees. High Life reports that its employees have diligently been following the company's pandemic protocols in the past 10 months and were thrilled to enter the new space in early 2021. According to Ogi Dizion, an employee in the packaging department, said everyone was trying to imagine what the space was going to look like once the construction was completed. When we first walked in, he said it was so beautiful and clean and there were so many tables. Anna Plaza, a box room worker of 9 years in the Neepawa facility, shared a statement of amazement. I spun around and said, "It's so big. This is a great project to help us socially distance, and it's very comfortable." Project West's first phase also included new office spaces, bathrooms, locker rooms, a maintenance area, and quality assurance lab. High Life noted it is planning to continue renovations to improve older areas of the building. Now, an article about the Neepawa Rotary Club. The Neepawa Rotary Club was able to have a Rotarian from England join their meeting last Wednesday, January 27th. Because the meetings can only be online now, there are fewer barriers restricting how far away those in attendance can be. So John Sayre, pictured here, member of the Blythe Bridge and District Club in England, was invited to make a presentation to give local Rotarians some insight into the goings-on across the pond. Neepawa Rotary member Dave Bennett noted that Sayre is a prominent member of the International Club, being a past district governor, the current district secretary, named a Paul Harris Fellow, as well as having been a district chair for the Group Study Exchange GSE program. Bennett knew Sayre from taking a GSE trip to England in 2011. He noted that they hit it off quite quickly and have kept in touch since. Bennett said Sayre to, no, Bennett asked Sayre to speak to the Neepawa Club and give them an update on the COVID-19 situation in the UK, as well as how their club has been operating throughout the pandemic. There were two main things I took from it, recalled Bennett. One was that as far as cases go, they're still having high cases and it's still spreading a lot over there. The good news is they are ahead in their vaccinations, adding that their vaccination rollout seems to be going a lot quicker than it is in Canada. Bennett added that Sayre's club has been keeping active in a similar fashion to how the Neepawa Club has been. They've been able to continue some fundraising and are trying to keep their regular routine as much as COVID-19 will allow. The Neepawa Rotary Club has been meeting online by Zoom since gatherings have been restricted. Bennett noted that while attendance has dropped as some members don't have access to the technology or just want to wait until in-person can occur again, they had more Rotarians at last week's meeting to listen in to Sayre's presentation. He explained that they've normally had around 10 people attend the Zoom meetings, but there were 15 tuned in to watch the international speaker. This isn't the only international guest the Neepawa Rotary Club has asked to speak. Rotarian Ron Nordstrom invited a speaker from Guatemala for one of their February meetings, whom he met while on a Rotary vocational training team trip a few years ago. And the Neepawa MJ team has inked a pair of prospects for the next coming year in the hockey season. The Neepawa natives are happy to announce the signing of a pair of players for the 2021 MJ season. Estevan Bears defenseman Cade Benson, pictured here, to a letter of intent for the 2021-22 Manitoba Junior Hockey League season. The 6'3" native of Carlisle, Saskatchewan, has played in 5 games for the Estevan Bears under 18 AAA team in the SM AAA HL this season and has 1 goal to go along with 2 penalty minutes after putting up 48 points last season in 31 games. I am very excited to sign with Neepawa. I've heard nothing but great things about the town and the team from current players I have played with in the past. The Neepawa natives also announced the signing of Arizona Bobcats defenseman Dean Noonan to a letter of intent for the 21-22 MJHL season. Noonan has played in 19 games in the NAPHL this season and has 2 goals and 6 assists to go along with 26 penalty minutes. The 6'2" native of Chandler, Arizona is currently a captain for the Bobcats. I am excited for Dean and his opportunity with the natives. Dean is a competitive player that leads by example. His new coaches and fans will enjoy watching him, said Brent Gow, the head coach of the Bobcats. I am looking forward to being part of the Neepawa natives. I would also like to thank the Arizona Bobcats and coaches Conacher, Morris, and Gow for all the help and trust they have shown in me, said Noonan. In a written statement, the Junior A Club welcomed Cade, Dean, and their families to the town of Neepawa and to the Natives organization. And there's a picture on the bottom of this one page entitled Cadets Learning Morse Code. Former Neepawa resident Tom Evans was in the local Air Cadets growing up. Pictured are members of the 1954 Neepawa Air Cadets learning Morse Code, with Evans on the far right. If anyone knows the others in the photo, please call 204-476-3401. I thought this was cute. Share a heart-shaped pizza this February 13th and 14th. $1 from every heart-shaped pizza sold at your Neepawa Boston Pizza supports the Neepawa Salvation Army Food Bank. And going along with getting ready for Valentine's Day, there's an article here about gift ideas for guys. A holiday devoted to love and affection is nestled in the middle of the chilly days of February. Valentine's Day is a big day for retailers, and many advertising campaigns focus on gifting women everything from jewelry to chocolate to stuffed animals. That focus may not be unwarranted, but men also deserve tokens of love and appreciation on Valentine's Day. With February 14th right around the corner, it's time to start thinking about shopping for items that show you care. Consider this list of carefully curated gifts that can provide inspiration for gifting the special man in your life. The first idea is gaming gear. The appeal of video games is hard to ignore. A new report from the gaming industry researchers indicates that billions of people across the globe play video games. The next gaming generation is approaching with the PS5 and Xbox Series X. Gift ideas can include consoles and peripherals like headsets, gaming chairs, and laptop keyboards, among others. The second idea is at-home luxury. Some men steer clear of massage therapy clinics or spas. That doesn't mean they should forego the benefits of a deep massage. With a portable back and neck massager, he can enjoy a massage while watching the game or streaming movies or TV shows. The next idea, a treat bouquet. Floral bouquets may be unusual gifts for men, but a bouquet of another sort certainly may be a winning Valentine's Day gift. More and more companies are getting creative with food bouquets. From cupcake bouquets that require a double take to ensure they're edible, to exotic jerky bouquets, there are items to tempt every palate. Next, cordless earbuds or earphones. Fitness enthusiasts, movie lovers, or music fans know that the freedom to move around can be impeded by cords on headphones and earbuds. A new pair of Bluetooth-enabled wireless headphones can be just the thing to make men smile this Valentine's Day. And the last idea is a coffee mill. Many people are sticking close to home these days. That may mean skipping a favorite coffee shop and barista on the way to work and brewing a cup of joe before heading to the home office. According to Sam Spillman, a 2019 barista winner of the U.S. Coffee Championships, coffee loses flavor minutes after it is ground. Buying whole beans and grinding fresh before every brew ensures a more flavorful cup. Gifting a coffee grinder, particularly a burr grinder, can help improve the taste of that morning brew. These are just some of the many gift ideas to help make men smile this Valentine's Day. Now, this is the old picture of the Neepawa's old fire hall. The tender process is about to begin for the demolition of Neepawa's old fire hall. On Tuesday, February 2nd, administration with the town of Neepawa provided a tour of the building located at 421 First Avenue to 15 different contractors. Manager of operations for the town of Neepawa, Denise Segay, said that the amount of interest shown in the walk around by the potential bidders is very encouraging. There was lots of interest shown, so hopefully we will receive some decent numbers coming in on the tendering process, and we'll see the removal of the structure shortly. The project is expected to be put out to tender shortly, with the headline set for Tuesday, February 16th. After Segay's update to the Town Council on February 2nd, Mayor Blake McCutcheon asked if there was any type of a timeline for the teardown of the building. Segay indicated that the hope is that the work by the winning bidder would begin right away after the tender was awarded. The town's expectation at this point in time is to have the old fire hall completely removed by April. Segay noted that none of the interested contractors seemed to have an issue with that proposed timeline. Neepawa cracking down on recycling wrongs. Don't be overly alarmed if you see someone going through your recycling in the next few weeks. Recently, the town of Neepawa has had municipal workers auditing random blue bins to see if they contain items that are not accepted by the recycling program, such as plastic shopping bags, garbage bags, styrofoam, and disposable drink cups, for example. The incorrect items are classified as contamination and can void the acceptance of an entire load by Evergreen Environmental Technology, the company which receives Neepawa's recycling. Manager of Operations for the town of Neepawa, Denny Segay, explains just what will happen if incorrect recycling items are found. If the recycling is deemed to be contaminated, staff will leave a note indicating what the contaminant is and will put it aside so it does not contaminate a load, stated Segay. There will be no fine or penalty for contaminated recycling at this time. The bins with improper items will simply have a tag placed on them with information about what can be recycled, like glass bottles and jars, aluminum and steel cans, plastic bottles, flattened cardboard boxes. To go along with the visual review of the recycling, the town is also planning to vamp up its education on what's acceptable and what's not through an information packet to be distributed on social media and the town's website. Segay noted that the recycling numbers year over year are declining in Neepawa, and a notable reason for that is more items are being rejected. The two biggest items that are causing problems are the incorrect recycling of plastic shopping bags and coffee cups. The town is advising that when in doubt, chuck it out. They noted that such an action would be better in the long run than simply putting everything into the blue bins and having an entire load disqualified by Evergreen. Farm Credit Canada donates to 4-H clubs. 4-H clubs across Canada will benefit from a donation from Farm Credit Canada, or FCC, and its 4-H Club Fund. FCC has announced that will provide $100,000 to 203 4-H clubs across Canada in 2021 to support local activities. In Manitoba, 17 4-H clubs, districts, and regions received a combined total of $8,500. The Neepawa and Area 4-H Beef Club is one of the 17 provincial clubs that was part of the announcement. A strong supporter of 4-H in Canada for over 25 years, FCC supports 4-H club initiatives each year by awarding up to $500 per club toward developing existing programs, covering costs associated with local events and exchanges, supporting volunteers, or purchasing resource materials. By providing opportunities for young people to learn and grow, 4-H clubs across the country are preparing the next generation for success, said Todd Klink, FCC Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer. FCC is proud to support these initiatives and the 4-H clubs that are helping develop our future leaders. The Club Fund is part of FCC's commitment of $250,000 to 4-H Canada. In addition to supporting local 4-H club activities through the FCC 4-H Club Fund, this contribution supports national and provincial 4-H initiatives. For over a quarter of a century, FCC has been a committed partner helping 4-H Canada empower young leaders at the grassroots level in communities across the country, said 4-H Canada CEO Shannon Benner. The FCC 4-H Club Fund helps build capacity for 4-H clubs and leaders to create programming that focuses on delivering world-class positive youth development in order to engage responsible, caring, and contributing youth leaders who affect positive change within their communities and the world around them. There's a section on Carberry North Cypress Langford by Gladwin Scott. The first is a community profile about a young lady named Jessie Gunn. Jessie Gunn is a member of the Carberry Collegiate grade 12 class who is on the honor roll and hopes to graduate with distinction. She is quite musically inclined and is a percussionist and trumpet player in the school and jazz bands. It sucks that we cannot play and missed our June final concert. Her parents, Dana and Marina, both play in a band. Gwen also enjoys dance and has 5 years of tap, jazz, and hip-hop classes under her belt. She is a member of the travel club and was very disappointed when their trip to France last spring was cancelled after 2 years of planning and fundraising. In sports, Jessie enjoys playing fastball as a catcher, shortstop, and outfield with the Cougars. With quick feet, Gwen excels in the long jump and sprints. Among her credits is a community service session with Kalena Green's grade 1 class. Jessie likes to talk and meet people. Future plans include post-secondary classes in Brandon or Winnipeg, with law as a possibility. Here and There by Gladwin Scott. The Manitoba Department of Education announced that the 2021 grade 12s will have final subject assessments in June, done by the class teachers and not the provincial government. This process has been followed by most provinces due to COVID-19. First semester subjects were also done by the teachers involved. Governor General Julie Payette has resigned as of January 21st after a special investigative committee reported a toxic work environment and harassment of employees. She was appointed by the Prime Minister in 2017, and it is usually a 5-year term. In a recent poll, 60% of Canadians indicated that they felt the monarchy had outlived its purpose. 2 well-paid but unhappy hockey players were traded last week. Patrick Laine and Jack Roslovic of the Winnipeg Jets were swapped to Columbus Blue Jackets for Pierre-Luc Dubois and a draft pick. Both Laine and Dubois are excellent players, but wanted to move to new teams, so it should be a win-win situation. Laine is a respected sniper, while Dubois is a strong two-way center expected to play on Winnipeg's second line. George Armstrong, age 90, who captained the Toronto Maple Leafs to 4 Stanley Cups in 21 seasons, passed away this week. Known as the Chief, he was one of the first professional hockey players of Indigenous descent. Also in sports, hammering Hank Aaron, age 86, one of baseball's greatest hitters, passed away January 19th. Although he hit 755 home runs, he will be remembered for breaking Babe Ruth's record of 714. An Alabama native, Aaron grew up in poverty amidst extreme racism. His mother hid him under the bed when the Ku Klux Klan came down the street. However, he always worked hard and maintained his dignity. Besides his home runs with the Milwaukee Brewers and the Atlanta Braves in his 23-year career, he also led in runs, batted in, extra base hits, and total bases. My brother Glennis and I drove to Milwaukee. The Minnesota Twins had not moved to Minneapolis yet, to watch right fielder Aaron and third baseman Eddie Matthews and the Braves pitching staff of Warren Spahn and Johnny Gain amidst 2 days of rain. However, it was worth the trip, as hammering Hank clubbed a late inning circuit clout off Cincinnati Reds' Don Newcomb. The inauguration of the new Biden-Harris U.S. administration January 20th featured individual performances by Lady Gaga, Jennifer Lopez, Tom Hanks, Garth Brooks, and 22-year-old youth poet laureate Amanda Gorman. New White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki is trying to restore truth and transparency to the government. The media is really not the enemy of the people. The new White House expects to hold 3 weekly media conferences. First dose of care home vaccinations done in Minnedosa. Minnedosa Personal Care Home resident Gayleen Stimpson received her COVID-19 immunization shot on January 26. Tricia Turner is the public health nurse administering the vaccine in this picture. The first dose of COVID-19 immunizations, the Moderna vaccine, were administered within Prairie Mountain Health Region personal care homes throughout the month of January. All eligible personal care home residents who consented received the immunization. PMH plans to begin administering the second dose of the Moderna vaccine to residents beginning February 12th and will continue until all regional personal care homes are completed by the end of February. Okay, let's see here what else. Well, it's not too much else. One last little article entitled Royal LePage Portage Supports Gladstone Food Cupboard. There's a picture here. Louise Blair presents a check for $250 to Laurel McConnell, administrator of the Gladstone United Church Food Cupboard. A local community service has received some support recently. The Gladstone United Church Community Food Cupboard was given $250 from Louise Blair of Royal LePage Portage Realty. Blair noted that everyone on the Royal LePage Portage team was asked to select a local charity or non-profit group to support. This is part of our giving away $10,000 for our 10th anniversary, Blair explained. The food cupboard offers food and hygiene items to those who need it in the Westlake Gladstone area. The organization noted that the need has risen in their community, with more individuals and families accessing the resource due to the impacts of the pandemic. They have also been seeing more support from the community since COVID-19. We are very grateful to Louise Blair and Royal LePage for their generous donation, the organization shared. And that is it for this week's issue of the Neepawa Banner and Press. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.